Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our session today, Attracting and Retaining Great People. I'm Rachel Wilson, Head of Business Bank here at Westpac. I lead a team of bankers who look after our small business customers across New Zealand. What we hear from our customers is it's really hard to find time in your day to attend these kind of sessions. So congratulations to approximately 400 of you who have found time in your busy diary to come here today, and along with our long weekend coming up. So great to have you on board. And B, the recruitment journey is getting tougher and it can feel really lonely. So I'm really happy to be able to bring this session to you today. Our Westpac series is a year-round speaker series aimed at helping set up Kiwi businesses for success. So a welcome back to our regular viewers and a very warm welcome if you're tuning in for the first time. And it's really great to have you on board. We are hearing a lot more from our customers that it is a tough labour market out there at the moment, and retaining great staff is difficult and finding great staff even more so. It is also really tough when we don't get it right, which I know many of you have been in those situations. Not only is it a cost to the business, but the emotional cost has an impact on all of us as employers. Today's session is aimed at getting some tips and insights from our panellists that you can take away and use in your recruitment journey. It doesn't matter what size your business is. Don't underestimate the importance of a strong recruitment process in your business. And if you have to spend money to learn more about how to make it great, it'll be the best use of your dollar long term. Today, we're privileged to be joined by Tony Pownall of Cultivate and Lucy MacLean of Hortus. The session is planned for 45 minutes, with Tony and Lucy sharing their experiences and tips that they use, and then a question and answer at the end for about 15 minutes. The Q&A will be running live on the right-hand side of your screen, so register your questions as they come to mind, and please indicate the panellist you'd like it directed to. If you like some of the questions raised, please click on it, and that will increase its rating, and we'll work our way through the highest rating questions first. I'm now going to ask our panellists to give a brief intro and share their background, starting with you, Tony. Welcome.
Kia ora koutou. Thank you. Great to have everyone on board. So a little bit about me, but not too much. Look, I've been in the recruitment game for coming up 20 years. I think this is my 20th year this year. Helping people find roles, helping people make better career decisions as job seekers, and doing so whilst running teams across here, Australia, and for a time, Greater China as well. We founded an organisation called Cultivate just 3 years ago. So even though all of us here at Cultivate, there's now 20 of us, have been around for a long time and doing this thing called recruitment for quite a while, we came to the conclusion that actually our industry has become a little commoditised. We feel that we need to be a little more human, a little more compassionate around that job seeking experience. I think too often as a job seeker, as a candidate, you feel more like a product or a commodity rather than a person trying to get on and take the next step in their career. So we're trying to bring the human back into human resources from this point of view. And when the days we're heading towards AI-based technology, etc., yes, we're trying to use those sorts of things and leverage technology, but more so we have more time to spend with candidates and helping them through an experience and getting the match right. We're very much around a counselling service in this day and age, and supporting both sides to make the right decision rather than simply just to go out and identify talent.
Awesome, thank you. And I like that human back into HR. It's good. Yeah, thank you. And welcome. Lucy, welcome.
Great, thank you for having me. So I'm the General Manager of People, Culture and Communications at Hortus. Hortus is what we call a profit for purpose business. So we have two parts to our business. One of our divisions or teams provides labour to the viticulture and horticulture industries across Marlborough, Bray Penny and Hawke's Bay. And as part of that, we have purpose-built accommodation for our workers and offer 24/7 pastoral care. So that business unit is about 80% of our revenue. The other area is our vineyard management and machinery team. We employ 110 permanent staff across New Zealand, and we have 1,500 seasonal staff join us per year. Majority of that is on the RSE visa scheme, but we do have Kiwis and backpackers on that seasonal fixed term contracts. Last year, Hortus clocked over $50 million in revenue. I started with the business 6 years ago, and yeah, we've definitely grown a lot, probably doubled in that size. So attracting, retaining, developing great people has very much been at the heart of what I've done. My background is in recruitment, but yeah, these days more generalist sort of people, culture and communications.
Awesome. And I can imagine that many people, that recruitment process is really, really important. Thank you and welcome. Hey, so thank you both for giving up your time today and sharing your insights with this group. I mean, I have to say, I thought I was pretty good at this recruitment, like, to be honest. And then I had a couple of discussions with you both, and I picked up a couple of great points. And I think that proved to me that retaining and attracting people is always evolving, and we can always be learning. And I think that's the most important thing from today is I don't think we've ever finished. So, you know, we can keep going. So get your pens and paper ready and take some notes, because Tony and Lucy have got some great tips to share. So let's kick off, and I'm going to start with you, Tony. You obviously deal with the labour market each and every day. Can you tell us a little bit about what the mood is and what challenges the market is facing at the moment?
Yeah, absolutely. And it is a very interesting time for recruitment, and it has changed. It has changed in the last 6 to 9 months for sure. 4 points. Quick points I want to make here. Firstly, job volumes. So the amount of recruitment that's actually happening across the country, on average, across different industries and role types, that has retracted slowly over the last 6 to 9 months. Partly because of the uncertainty with the elections, believe it or not, even at a national level, trying to determine who we're going to have as a government, and then them all working out between themselves what sort of government they're going to form after the election as well. That has an impact on business confidence. We're very much a canary in the mine when it comes to business confidence and hiring. So we saw a slowdown with that. But of course, the engineered recession that we're in now has caused some demand to pull back on services and products, and that has a flow-through effect to hiring as well. So yes, we've seen a slight retraction in job volumes. It's certainly not a depressed market when it comes to hiring. It's happening. It's out there. There's new roles popping up, and there's certainly green shoots of businesses and industries that are continuing to grow. Clearly, if you're in media or government at the moment, it's a pretty tough time, and there is some shedding of staff. But elsewhere, I'd say there's more just nips and tucks, bit of restructuring as businesses think about non-profitable parts of their business and just try to tidy up some loose ends and clean up their business and structures as a result. So more housekeeping than wholesale redundancies. However, at the same time, application volumes have gone absolutely through the roof, which is really interesting. So we might have had only a dozen or so applicants a couple of years ago, post-COVID, when that real peak of hiring, where we had a crazy amount of activity out there and very few candidates to choose from. So very much a candidate market. That's changed slightly. So we're seeing, rather than a dozen applicants, we're seeing 3, 4, 5, 6, sometimes even 800 or 900 candidates applying to a role. Now, what we are seeing, though, is a lot of noise, and that sounds like a very impersonal term, but when I mean noise, a lot of overseas applicants, a lot of people that aren't actually in the country or suitable for that role, and a lot of repeat applications where people are firing out CVs to multiple, tens and tens of jobs, which obviously confuses the market. So the challenge there is actually wading through those people fast enough to get to the nuggets of talent and people who are going to be right for your business at a pace that means you don't lose them, because the great talent have still got choices. So that's the dynamic we're facing just at the moment. And then the other couple of points I want to make is this cost of living crisis, what we're still going through. It is really tough for people out there. Those people are in particular on an average wage that are getting really squeezed. We saw some crazy offers and new salaries 18 months ago where people are having to pay 20% and upwards premium to attract talent. That's largely gone away, but it does mean I see really weird things like people tearing up employment contracts after signing it because someone else has come along with even a couple of $1,000s more as an offer between them resigning and starting with you. Now, I never used to see that. There was this moral code, I think, in New Zealand that once you signed a contract, that's it, I'm starting by hook or by crook. That's not the case now. They're still very much keeping themselves in the market. I even have people still interviewing after they start a job. So that's changed a lot just because money is so important at the moment. And on top of that, and I think related to that topic, is this notion of burnout. I'm seeing that more and more than ever before. So as an agency now, we're not so much about finding and identifying the right talent. It's about coaching and counselling both sides to get that talent over the line. It's an emotional roller coaster, applying for a job and going through a recruitment process. I get it. You know, you doubt yourself. You wonder where you stand. You don't hear back. It's long. You got to put yourself out there, and that's scary. And to be quite honest with you, there's a lot of people who are just not equipped right now to put themselves out there and put their best foot forward. So people that are, you know, ghosting us or disappearing or not turning up to interviews or just not being themselves, pulling themselves out of a process because they're just not ready for it. So go easy on people. I think if you're hiring at the moment, I think don't be too quick to judge. There's a lot of people out there with a lot happening behind the scenes, and they're just trying to keep their head above water and find another job.
Right. I think that's really wise, counsel, that last piece. We don't know at what point in somebody's life they are, and so we do have to be a little bit cautious when we are interviewing. And I think we are hearing in our industry a lot from our customers who, particularly in the hospitality industry, where, you know, the cafe down the road offers another $2,000 a year and they just jump ship really quickly. And I understand that from a cost of living point of view. People need that. And that's where I think it's really important we start thinking about, there's the contract and there's a job now, but what else after that can make people want to stay with the organisation. And the other thing that we're also seeing, and our customers are seeing, to your point, we've got so many people turning up for jobs. And so I'm really keen to understand from you, because you're interviewing all the time, what process, you must have a really refined process to go through to make sure that you get through those 900, or you can weed them out. So, you know, you must have a really regimented process that you go through.
I'd like to think so. It's something we've been working to for quite a number of years now. And the key for recruitment in any market is preparation. Now, that sounds a bit odd because I think recruitment ends up being a little bit too subjective, a little bit too loose. That, you know, I challenge yourself on this call. How many times have you sort of rocked up to an interview with a candidate and you're not really that prepared? You've printed their CV off on the way to the meeting room and you're going to make it up on the fly. That worries me. I don't think the candidate that gets the best experience, and I don't think you're setting yourself up for success either. This whole notion of I'll know it when I see it doesn't work. So we don't do enough preparation when it's like anything, you know, preparation is the key to most things in life. And if we're prepared and know what we're looking for and we know what we want in a role, it's a heck of a lot easier to actually identify it. So that for me is absolutely critical. I'm going to very quickly talk you through how I do this. And I think I can back myself to do this in a way that maybe even you get some value out right now and take away. So all I'd suggest is if you're on this call and you've got a pen and paper in front of you, take that piece of paper, hopefully it's A4, make it portrait direction, and draw 2 lines across so that you separate that piece of paper into 3 even segments, 1, 2, 3, top to bottom. And once you've drawn those 2 lines, take that top third of that piece of paper and just put a heading in there for me called skills and experience. What you're creating here is something I call a success profile. It's what the person that you hire will bring to the role and what you bring to them. So in that first box, skills and experience. Now, qualifications can fall into that. Experience can be broken into functional experience. So, you know, maybe they know accounts payable, or it can be broken into context. So maybe they know banking, for instance, or agriculture. But you're going to only have 4 bullet points there. So what I want you to think about is being really specific about the key skills and experience someone needs to bring day one. And I say day one because you only need enough skills and experience to bring some credibility to get them going, if that makes sense, and be as specific as possible. Now, a little hint, communication skills is not a skill, it's a behavior. So keep that out. It might be, so for instance, you might use sales experience, too broad. Do you want B2B sales experience, B2C sales experience? Do you want someone who's come from a call center, someone who's come in retail? What sort of sales experience does someone need to bring to this role exactly to have that credibility day one? So once you've finished with those 4 points, which I won't be able to give you enough time to do right now, but take it away. The second box I want you to think about is attributes and competencies. So if you like, that first box was all about the know-how, so what they know. But the second box is what I call the can-do. Now, the can-do is how you leverage what you know. And if anyone here on this call has worked with someone who's been uber experienced and had a lot of time in a role, but there's something stopping them from being as effective as they could be in that position. It's not what they know because they've been doing it for a long time. It's how they're behaving in that context. And those behaviors don't quite align with what's required for success. So there's lots of different behaviors. What we're looking for is the top 3 or 4 only that are most critical for success. There could be a dozen that are interesting and helpful, but there'll only be 3 or 4 bullet points for you to identify the key behaviors. If you're struggling with that, in your mind's eye, think about your highest performer. What is it about that high performer that causes them to be effective? Describe those things, and those are probably the words you use for that box. If you don't have a high performer, again, in your mind's eye, imagine you've hired somebody in a 9 months' time, they're kicking it out of the ballpark. What are they doing? It's not their knowledge. It's not how well they drive Excel, if you're an accountant, for instance, or how quickly they close off month end, to use that example again. It's something around how they behave, how they conduct themselves. Put those words down, and again, be really specific. So those are 2 out of 3, the know-how and the can-do. The final one is want to. So if those 2 boxes are about what someone brings to you, the final box is what you give to them in this role at this point in time, specific to those things. So you've only got 3 or 4 bullet points here too. Why would the right candidate come and work for you right now in this role? Seems like a very, very innocent, easy question, but you want to put down 3 or 4 really compelling reasons in there. And that's it, only 3 or 4. There might be others, but those are the top ones. What is it about this particular role? What is it about this particular team? What is it about the challenge associated with this role right now that will cause someone to jump at it? If we can't articulate this, we can't attract the best possible talent to your business when they're in front of you. Once you've got that blueprint or success profile, it maps out your whole process. Now you know what questions you need to ask in an interview. Now you know what questions you need to ask a referee at those final stages before you put an offer out. You know what's important. It allows you to get rid of bias and focus on the wrong things because you've now got a clear view of what the right things are, and you can get to the point with the candidate. And you've got a compelling proposition in the interview because our job is to build emotional buy-in. This isn't a transaction where we're making somebody an offer for something. They're coming to work for you for hopefully 3 to 5 years. And so you need that emotional buy-in, hence their bottom part around the want to. The want to is most important, believe it or not, the motivation. Get that right first, the rest will flow. Yeah.
Yeah, and I see Lucy there writing that down, and I was lucky enough to talk to you last week about it, so I've written it down. And to be honest, it really made me walk away and think about how I interview. And yeah, it's certainly a really good blueprint, I think, and made me think about it. And I'm sure there's probably 400 on this call who've scraped into 3 and started writing those. So yeah, really great tip there.
I think the final point I'll just say on that, Rachel, is if you drew a dotted line halfway across that page, so halfway through the middle of that second section, everything above that you can train. Behaviors you can bend, and with coaching you can develop further. Skills is easy, so let's not overdo that. You can train that. The bottom stuff you can't.
Yeah, agree. Thanks. So Lucy, you're employing obviously 1,500 people per annum on a part-time basis. And I know that you screen initially via phone. So I'm really interested to know, what is it in that phone conversation that will help you take that candidate to the next stage? What are you looking for? What are you trying to hear in that initial consult?
Yeah, that's great. And I must say, thanks, Tony, for that 3-step process. I haven't actually heard that being articulated so clearly, and I definitely was scribbling that down. So, yeah, and I love how you just separated the skills from the sort of behaviours to the motivation. It makes perfect sense. So, yeah, great tip there. Yeah, so for us, we do a lot of screening over the phone initially. So obviously we'll have the CVs come through. We can see from the CV if they're likely to have the relevant skills, knowledge, experience, qualifications from their CV. And then we sort of, if someone's looking good, we're curious and we want to know more, then we'll jump onto a phone conversation. And really what we're doing in that phone conversation is jumping straight to the bottom third of the paper, Tony's paper, and really asking questions around people's behaviour. Well, we want to get a sense of people's behaviour, because we want to make sure that it's going to be really aligned to what's important to us here at Hortus, what we stand for, what we believe in, and making sure that we're going to get the kind of people that's going to fit into our culture, but also help to enhance and develop our culture. So yeah, our phone screening is pretty much around that behaviours and motivation. That's for our permanent staff. We do things a little bit differently with our seasonal workers, with the REC guys that are coming from the Pacific. So what we do there is, for us, we've figured out that we want to recruit the dreamers rather than the workers. And what I mean by that is that we've figured out for us that we want people who have big goals, like they're coming to New Zealand because they want to have money to send their kids to school, or they want to be able to build a house for themselves or their mum and dad, or they want to be able to have money to build a business to make their life more sustainable. So we want people that have got big dreams, because we know that when they turn up to us here in New Zealand, when they're missing home, when they're cold, when they're tired, when they've had enough, those big dreams are going to get them through those sort of tough times. So yeah, dreamers is really important to us, and I think that connects with the motivation there, Tony. And it's also hugely satisfying for us as a business when our REC guys come back the following season or two, and they can show us pictures of their kids in the school uniforms or the houses that they've built. So we know that the hard work they're putting in, the money that they're making, is making an impact back home. And that's what really drives us as a business, is having that impact. And that's also great that we're recruiting, we're screening, and we're finding permanent staff that want to be part of that journey with us. I
really like that you're actually understanding their why for getting, wanting to come here, which is, and then I guess what happens, and I know the company revisited the purpose in the last couple of years, and this has probably formed part of why you do what you do. But what was it that made you look at the purpose of the company, and how do you think the change has improved your recruitment process and helped you to retain those people?
Yeah, so about 4 years ago, we re-looked at our values. So perhaps like many businesses, you have a list of values, but ours were just sitting in a drawer somewhere. No one could remember them. They were just words. So we thought, actually, let's re-look at that. So we knew that we had a good culture at Hortus, but we couldn't articulate what that culture was. We didn't know why it was good. So we spent about a year doing a big deep dive into ourselves, and we came to an understanding of what's really important to us at Hortus, and what our everyday actions and behaviours look like. So we developed something called our map, so that's our values, and then we sort of took that a step further and thought, okay, we've got our values and what's important to us, but what would be the everyday actions and behaviours? What would those values and actions look like? And then we came up with what we call This Is Us. So that's our kind of 9 rules of behaviours, or how we want to show up. So there's 9 things there, and probably the one that I reckon is the most useful. They're all really great. We love them all. They're all good. The one that's probably most useful from a recruitment point of view, I've found, is that when we do the 3-step process and we've done all that, and then we're kind of, most of the times it's either a yes or no, but if someone's we're just a little bit unsure about something, there's just a little bit of a gut feeling that something's not quite right, but we don't know why. The humble, hungry, smart is our answer. There's usually one of those that don't quite tick the boxes for us. And we find that someone's got to have all 3 to be our perfect team member. So that humble, hungry, smart has really helped us to not get it wrong. It saved our bacon a few times by not hiring someone that doesn't tickle those. The other ones that are probably most well known within our business, most talked about, is the no bullshit, no dickheads. So a little bit out there, but it really works for us, because it gives us permission to have courageous conversations, talk about things that are frustrating us, lean into conflict, not fester on things. But probably the favourite one for me personally out of this is we deliver. The reason that's my favourite is I know that our operational teams are really passionate about turning up to the client's vineyard or block. They want to do a good job, they want to deliver, they want to be there on time, they want to do quality work, they want the tools and equipment to enable them to do good work. So I know our operational teams want to deliver. So for me, in the people and culture team, I think about, well, how can we make our workplace a great environment that people want to come to work, they love their jobs, it's easy for them to deliver, they've got great colleagues, great managers, their tractors and their harvesters are good, they're not breaking down, our systems and processes are logical and easy. So I love that because it means that we can deliver for our clients and we can deliver for our staff. So yeah, these behaviours in action have really helped shape a lot of how we recruit and how we retain and how we create a workplace that people want to turn up to.
Oh, and if I think about the no bullshit, no dickheads, which, you know, personally I quite like, I really like. So you do that by way of a survey, is that right, for your permanent people?
Well, yeah, we do have something we call the no dickheads culture survey. Oh, sorry, no bullshit culture survey. So this is an engagement survey that we launched a couple of years ago. The provider is a company called Culture Amp. So that's a tool that we use. We run the survey. So that's really a listening tool, so we can ask our employees what they think about working at Hortus. So we launched that 2 years ago. The first year we had 70% of our staff participated in it, and the results were pretty good. Like, there was definitely a few areas that we could improve on. So we thought, okay, well, let's just take some actions, communicate it, and just make sure we're doing something around the things that people spoke about. So last year we took the action, we communicated, and we just relaunched the annual survey again this February, and we went from 70% participation rate up to 96%. So our staff were really engaged, happy to participate, and also the overall score went up quite a lot as well. So we could see really good progress in how people felt about working at Hortus. So we're now sitting at 88% engagement rate, and my personal aspiration and goal is to get us to the 95%. So, you know, every year we just want to take some action and improve.
Yeah. And I think the key word there is action. Like, anyone can do a survey. It's what you do with the information that you receive from that survey. So obviously you're taking that information and sharing it with a wider group, and they realise that actually you're quite serious about that. So yeah, that's awesome. Hey, so let's face it, we've all been in the position where we've employed people, and sometimes we get it wrong. So Tony, how do we stop getting it wrong?
It's a really tough answer for everybody, but my guiding principles would be move away from skills and experience-based hiring. The less you focus on skills and experience. So for instance, I often see must have 5 years experience doing this, must have 2 years. I don't believe it. High performers get there faster. Who are you to pick an arbitrary number based on maybe your own experience that determines whether somebody's got mastery in a role or not? People get there at different speeds. So take the number of years away from your requirements and focus on potential. When you think about someone you've hired that hasn't worked out, and again, in your mind's eye, I think, what was it about that person that just didn't fit? It probably was the motivational fit. If they're there for the wrong reasons, or what they're about and what drives them doesn't align to what you offer, they just won't put the discretionary effort in. And that's what happens, right? If someone really wants to be there, I love that dreamers approach. They've got a big picture in mind. They dig in when times are tough because they've got a big picture view of what they're trying to achieve with this work here in New Zealand. That's amazing. And so what you've probably found through trial and error over the years is the people that didn't have that struggled and got left behind and dropped away in their work ethic. So that's what I mean by that. So focus on potential. Quite often it's the wild cards that do an amazing job. They surprise us, because what is a wild card? It's someone who has all the right behaviours and they're all the right motivational fit, but are light on skills and experience. They're coming laterally from somewhere different and go, oh, I'm just going to take a punt on them. More often than not, they work out versus the people that tick all the boxes and skills and experience, and then you go, something's fallen short. They're not living up to my expectations.
Yeah. So go with gut. Sometimes your gut's your best. Yeah. Awesome.
If your gut's related to that motivational fit and behaviours.
Yeah. So getting close to 10:30, and I can see some questions coming through, but there's I think sometimes we let ourselves down as recruiters, and I'm really keen to hear both of your views on this. So we make the phone call and we say, hey, look, Tony, love to have you for the role, got a contract coming your way, they sign it, you're high-fiving yourself for finding this great person, they'll start in a month, you're welcoming them at the door, and often the poor experience can then begin. And if I think back to what you said at the beginning, people are ripping contracts up and still looking for jobs at the end. I'm keen to hear from both of you how important the point of when we've said, yes, you've got the role, and what happens after that, and where we're letting ourselves down, and what you think we need to do more of. Start with you, Tony.
Great. Okay. Look, I think engaging them emotionally, as I've talked about already, starts when you first meet them. And all the way through. So if you've spent a lot of time talking about your purpose and what you stand for, people buy into that. People feel inspired by that for a start. So they're more likely they're going to turn up there and then as a result of that. And just showing an interest in them and understanding what's important to them and their motivations, they'll already feel like, as a manager, this is someone who wants to get to know me and understand what's best for me. So that's pretty cool. And also there's some really interesting research out there that would suggest that if you set expectations with somebody, i.e. what good looks like in a role before they start the job, they're more likely to join and be engaged. So don't wait till they rock in the door to tell them what good looks like in the role. Tell them before you hire them. But you're right, you need to engage people before they turn up day one. So I'm constantly surprised. Well, I have people calling me or my team 2 or 3 days before they're due to start saying, I haven't heard from anyone. Where am I supposed to be on my first day? And I just think this is crazy. Have a cup of coffee with them the week before they start. Send them a bit of information on the role or the company, just to give them feel like they're more comfortable, they know what they're getting into. So all of that starts before they join. And then the number of times I hear new starters are either frustrated or worried because they're not feeling like they're living up to expectations, or they're failing. Of course they feel like they're failing because it's a new job that's new to them. It's different. They're not going to master it straight away. And we're all human. We want to feel like we do a good job and impress people. And quite often you can't. And that's okay, but what worries me is they're not having one-on-ones with their manager. From the very first week, we need to sit down with these people and go, how are you going? What have you learned? What's working? What's not? We need to start that cadence of one-on-ones and conversations right from the outset. Don't wait until they've gone through onboarding, because a lot of that first month is going to have them second guess themselves around, did they make the right choice? Am I in the right place? So just start that good, honest, upfront, two-way conversation really early on. Look at a buddy program that works really well also, I think. So rather than just you be the only source of truth, buddy them up with someone who's been there a couple of years and has been through what they're about to go through, so that they can have some honest conversations around, look, how do I get things done around who do I speak to get this done? And what's the right way to handle this type situation? And that's great to have that safe ear and counsel.
Oh, thanks. Lucy, anything to add?
I agree with everything you've said there, Tony. I know within Hortus, for our RSC, we have something called the RSC life cycle. So that's everything from being off the job to their pre-departure, before they leave home, to their arrival, pizza, welcome, great to have you here, through to induction. So we've got that whole life cycle, and we've got it mapped out. Who does what team's responsible for what they're covering, who's checking in. So, it's a really well coordinated process. So at the end of the day, we want to make sure our staff are well supported through every step of their journey, and a similar but different process with our permanent staff. So that's where the hard work begins, when someone actually starts with you.
Yeah, awesome. Some great tips here, thank you. Hey, look, we've got loads of questions coming through, so let's try and rip through as many of those as we can. So first one for Lucy. You employ a lot of people from offshore. How do you get all the nationalities working well together and buying into the company's purpose?
Yes, yes, we do recruit a lot from overseas. So again, coming back to our values, so we created something called our MAP. So that's our values, which stands for making a difference, altogether better, and proud of what we do. So that's something that has enabled us to bring everyone together, whether you're from Fiji or Samoa or Kiwi, and you can celebrate where you come from, but while you're here with us at Hortus, we're all one village, one community, one team. We're all together. We're all focused on making a difference, and we want to be really proud of that. So that glues us all together. And then, we celebrate that through our MAP awards. We have an end of season MAP awards. We celebrate success. We celebrate our cultures. We come together. We do it in toolbox meetings every day. The guys might be out in the field warming up, doing their stretches, and we'll say, hey, give us an M, give us a P, so give us some examples. So yeah, there's just lots of ways that we bring our values to life every day that kind of brings us together.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Great question.
Rachel, if I can just add to that, I think one thing to take away from this, which is what Lucy's saying, is be very careful with the term cultural fit. I think we know what we mean by it, but sometimes cultural fit means we're just trying to find same. Everyone's the same in every aspect. That's boring and that's groupthink. So what you're doing is being able to harness different cultures and ethnicities and backgrounds and cognition, but you're being bound together by values. So I think you think values fit, not cultural fit. I think cultural fit can be almost too broad.
Yeah, good point. Next question for you, Tony. What are some tips on how we can identify candidates who have the attributes and competencies that we're looking for? Second section of success profile. Somebody's written it down as we're working through. Skills and experience are easy to identify based on past roles. How do we identify their attributes and competencies during a short interview? Good question.
Very good question. Look, the interview is often what we had to go by. It is often central to the process. It's often squandered, I think, as a result. So as a result of putting together your success profile, those 3 or 4 key behaviours there in the middle, you can now write a really good, clear, succinct, competency-based interview question. And I say clear and succinct quite purposely because I think some of them are a little bit too convoluted and long-winded. So what is the behaviour you're looking for in somebody? Just state that to them. Say, this behaviour is really critical, we know, to success in this particular role. Can you talk me through a prior experience that proves or demonstrates that you bring that behaviour? Just keep it simple. Competency-based interview questions still definitely work, but you've got to be prepared with that question and you can't wing it. It's not that hard if you've written a few, and I'm happy to help people if they need. But once you've got that, you can look at the relevance of the answer in terms of context, in terms of timeliness, how far back was it, and just walk that through with them. And if they're not really good at articulating it, and that's okay, because some people aren't really good at selling themselves in an interview. It doesn't mean they're bad for the job, but if the substance there, talk them through with it, dig in a little bit more, ask a few more probing questions to see if you can get that behaviour out. That works really well. People talk about psychometric assessment and going, I don't know if it works and it's useful. Well, it's probably not useful if you're using it to try and judge the wrong behaviours. So when you're looking at psychometric assessment, and perhaps they've done something along online in terms of their preferences and behaviours and approach to different situations, then don't look at the 15 different things it brings up in terms of insights on somebody if only 3 or 4 of them are actually most critical. Look at that success profile, then look at their results and go, how did they go against those 3 or 4 things? And that's where we sometimes use assessment wrong. We go, oh, there's one red flag down here for something, which really, when we dig in and think about it, isn't actually that relevant for the job, but we suddenly freak out and go, no, they're not right. Who else have we got?
Yeah.
And actually, I'd say as well, on those behaviours, what we don't often do is call the referee and say, this behaviour is really important for success in the role. Have you seen that person exhibit that behaviour in the job previously?
Yeah, I'll put my hand up and say I don't do that. Well done. Another one for you, Tony. What are the top 3 qualities or offerings that candidates are seeking from an employer in the current environment? We are running out of time, so.
Yep. Okay, keep this one quick then. Top 3, money right now. Money's always top 3 somewhere, but it moves depending on the market conditions. But money right now. Purpose would be the other one that stands out for me. And the other one is flexibility. So when I mean purpose, what am I going to do? What does this company stand for? How am I going to make a difference? I want more than just a job. I want to feel like I'm making a contribution. I want to feel like I'm with a business that knows where they're going and why. And then work from home, flexibility. We can't always offer it for every role, but I want to feel like I'm trusted. So once I'm up to speed, I can work in a way, in a place, and a time that suits me, that's sustainable, not this industrial revolution approach to 9 to 5, thou shalt be in here on time, clocking in here and out there. It doesn't work for people's lives.
Right. How do I make sure that the job ad is super clear, i.e. managing expectations of what the role entails, but also selling it in for both? Lucy, do you want to start?
Well, I guess, no bullshit is part of our DNA. So for us, yeah, we do. We just say it how it is. Try not to use overly complicated words and language. And, we're quite direct. We're quite, I guess no bullshit. So we do want to sell it, but we also want to be true to who we are and our personality and the type of people that would probably find us an appealing place to work. That's probably a bit vague. Maybe Tony can add some more there.
I'd say start with being really specific about what you're looking for. Because you've done that success profile, you can do that now, because otherwise what happens, the whole lot of cliches or kind of copy paste stuff happens from other roles, and you find all your advertisements look a bit generic. So be really tight, really specific about what you're looking for. Sell your purpose, put that in there in terms of why someone would come and work for you in this role. And if the role's not perfect and it has some challenges, be open with that. I think that's what you're saying, Lucy. The right person will run towards the right challenge. So you don't have to dress it all up as roses if it's not roses. If you've got something broken and you need someone to come in and help fix it, that's okay. Say that, because they'll go, I'm all about that. I love fixing problems.
I've got 1 more minute, one quick question. This is for Tony, how do you identify the motivational drivers?
Just have a good, honest conversation with them in the interview. An interview should not be an interrogation. It shouldn't be one-sided. Don't put them in a room with bright lights. We've got this notion of maybe it's TV, that's what an interview should be, and we're there to trip them up. No, make them feel comfortable. The more comfortable someone is, they're going to be nervous. The more comfortable they are, the more likely it is for you to see their true sides. It's a bit of a contrived situation, isn't it? That we're asking them to go into a room with a stranger they don't know, put themselves out there, a lot of people aren't comfortable to do, and come up with these great pithy answers to questions we're going to fire at them willy-nilly. So, have some compassion and help them out. But just have that conversation up front. I start with motivations. So that success profile, 3 parts, that's my interview. I've got a 3-part interview, but I start talking around, what are you looking for next? Why? Why is that important? What do you need to thrive in your next role? What worked for you in your previous role? Why? What do you want to happily leave behind? And I'm trying to understand that motivational fit just by having good, honest conversation around what suits them.
Awesome. Thank you. Hey, look, we've come to that time where we've run out of time for further questions, but there's a load of them here, so thank you. Thank you, Lucy and Tony, for sharing your insights with us. I think what I'm taking away from it is the interview isn't about us as the employer, it's about the employee and what we can help bring them and into our business and understand their worth and what they're going to bring to us. So and also the 3-step process, that's something that I've already looked at, and the no bullshit survey I've picked up too, Lucy. So thank you very much. You have been amazing panelists. It's been great, actually, and the questions that are coming through have been incredible. And a big thank you to everyone online for the insightful questions. As part of the session, Tony has kindly offered 10 of our audience here today a free 30-minute session. His email address is about to appear on screen, so get your digits working. Flick him an email, and if you're one of the 10 to get through, he'll make contact with you. So a big thank you, Tony, for that amazing offer. We hope that everyone has got some fresh insights and tools to take away from today. People are such a valuable asset to any organisation, and it really is worth putting in the effort and the time to ensure that we have the right people in the right roles. From my point of view, remember, be prepared, know what you're employing for, what type of person you're looking for, know your value proposition. You're not just employing somebody, they are choosing you and your business. make sure that once you've employed, the process carries on to make that experience really incredible for that new employee, so that they feel valued and they encourage their friends and family to come and work for you also. And that actually helps with your recruitment going forward. But we'll be posting this video on our Smarts channel if you want to watch it again, or if you want to share with your colleagues. You'll also see a survey appearing on the right of your screen. We would really appreciate it if you could take a couple of minutes to complete that for us. We're also looking for we're constantly looking for topics for future sessions. So if there's anything you'd like us to cover going forward, you can actually put that in the free text in the survey. We'd really appreciate that. Thanks again to Tony and Lucy and all that have joined. We hope you have a fantastic long weekend. Ka kite anō. Take care. Bye for now.